sensing this danger. This is the greatest showman! He is floating on air now! He's going to send it back.
It's a Multicultural AFL Footy Show with Vanessa, Harbir and George Gracios.
Hello and welcome to the NEMBC's Multicultural AFL Footy Show. I am Vanessa, and on tonight's panel are our regular panelists Harbir and George. Hello guys.
Hello Vanessa.
Hi guys.
Hello.
The AFL's COVID-19 fixture alterations are not only confusing the public, but are also putting teams under enormous pressure. That is no good situation, and it remains to be seen which of the sides fail under the external pressure of snap COVID lockdowns. Last Thursday night, Geelong in Perth took the lead early and completely crushed Fremantle by 69 points. Richmond found some form and bounced back to beat Lada leaders Brisbane by 20 points, while Port Adelaide struggled to take the win against St Kilda by 13 points. The Western Bulldogs also found it hard going in defeating the Gold Coast by 11 points, and Essendon overcame North Melbourne after asserting their strength in their second half of the game. At the MCG, Melbourne and Houghton drew at 79 points apiece, but the real disadvantage of the result remained with Melbourne, as after 3 quick losses, it holds on to top spot by a slender margin of only 2 points. Meanwhile, on the Gold Coast, Essendon had a closely contested game against North Melbourne to win by just 18 points. What are your thoughts, Harbir and George, on an equally surprising week as last week's round of footy?
Yeah, it was pretty surprising as well. Few games that they've come up and few teams which were behind and they come and in the end they won the game. So it was a bit surprising with a few games. But Fremantle and Geelong, I'm very surprised with that game. I'd never expected that kind of contest from Fremantle, especially at their home turf. They let Geelong play their game. Yeah, there was like a difference of uncontested possessions of 274 to 167 aside, which meant that the game that Geelong liked, they were able to play that of controlling the game and how they want to do it. And the disparity between the number of 50s, like 28 to 2 or so, you don't see that at AFL level. That's pretty bad stat as far as any AFL team is concerned. And considering that how well Fremantle was playing before, they really should have put up a better performance, but they didn't. And full credit to Geelong with all their gun players. I mean, few of them were playing too, but some of their gun players which are missing, like Rowan, without the Jeremy Cameron as well. So they had that slight advantage, Fremantle, but they lost it. And Geelong just looking too good at the moment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Harbir. They were given a reality check, Fremantle. They went into this match with some good form behind them. They were expected to put in a much, much better performance. Some tipsters even gave them an outside chance of winning, which really surprised me because Geelong have been terrific the last month.
Yeah, definitely. And what a game for Richmond. And what a superstar, Jack Riewoldt, like 300 of the game. You don't get to celebrate a game in such a way for most of the players. And we've seen such a huge impact he had on the game, and like a game to remember for him. 6 goals, kicking in that kind of situation. And Brisbane, who were like, I know they're probably missing those forward and the back players as well in the form of Mark Adams and Eric Hipwood, but still they were a good team, and Richmond wasn't flying that high as well. So huge credit to Richmond the way they played, and a sad loss of Dusty though.
Yeah, look, that's a massive blow for the Tigers.
Sad.
Last week's episode, I gave Richmond the last rights. There is a heartbeat. They actually showed some life, and Toby Nankervis, he's the barometer for Richmond. Back after an extended absence, dominated the ruck contests and brought the Richmond midfielders into the game. Jack Rain playing one of his best games of the year, and the other Jack, tonight's a night of Jacks. Jack Riewoldt, his 300th game, kicking 6 goals. What a fantastic career, and great to see him putting on a show for a great win. But I can't see Richmond holding on, unfortunately. That injury to Dusty is probably the knockout blow. And even Camden McIntosh suffered a hamstring injury, so they keep losing players. They get a couple of players in. Lambert returned, played a great game, but they just can't keep up with the injuries. Not enough consistency and form for Richmond to be able to get a sustained run and hold on to a place in the 8.
Yeah, definitely. And another team which disappointed me was St Kilda. I expected a much better show from them. And Port Adelaide, they are missing. They've got a huge injury list as well. And with St Kilda, the kind of form they were building, and I was quite hopeful that this time they will be able to put up a much better performance than what they did. But their scoring issues comes back all the time, and then 13 behinds kicking the game, and then only managed to kick 8 goals. So that sort of creates that disparity. But full credit to Port Adelaide, the way they came, and they came in hard, and they knew that top 4 position is at stake, and they played like that. So full credit to them. Whatever team they had, they played superbly.
Yeah, I enjoyed the performance of Mitch Georgiades. We keep talking about him on our multicultural show. We do like looking out for these sort of players. Great performance, kicking 4 goals. And a favourite for the Brownlow medal, Ollie Wines, dominated the midfield and needed to do so, of course, in the absence of players like Robbie Gray, Orozio Fantasia, Connor Rosie, Zach Butters. So some huge names missing from the Port Adelaide lineup. It was going to be a difficult contest against the Saints, and it proved to be so. Rowan Marshall, a very good performance on his part, missed some critical shots, and that was the story for the Saints all day. They just couldn't capitalise on their performances, whereas Port Adelaide, to their credit, did. Another side that capitalised on their performances, the Western Bulldogs, defeating the Suns in a very closely contested match. So Suns came into the match with some really good form. They served it up to the Doggies. I was pleased to see that Jamara Ugelhagen kept his place in the team and he played his best game. It's only his second game, of course, but showed why he was such a highly rated draft pick.
Yeah.
Goals, a better performance last week, so good on you, Jamar.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think more than the 3 goals, it was the manner he kicked them to. What a huge mark, and the few angles that he had to play with. He did a fantastic job. In the end, very good result for Bulldogs to win that game, and full credit to Gold Coast because the way they played, it made the contest really good. And if we move on to next game, Melbourne Hawthorn, probably the saddest game, like you can say, that no team could win, and especially the Hawks couldn't win that. They were so close, and they sort of deserved to win. I think there were just a couple of shots here and there which let them miss.
And on Saturday night, the Hawks forced a draw against the D's. The Hawks, thanks to a great goal by Luke Bruce in the dying seconds, drawing the match. Melbourne, though, just can't get the job done against bottom 4 teams. A golden opportunity missed to consolidate top spot. Yeah,
it looks like Hawks are in the right direction with that succession plan as well, I believe. And because the magic they were able to create with those young players speaks huge volumes that what these people can do. I'm pretty sure Sam Mitchell's been there for a while as well, and definitely he would have learned a lot from Alistair Clarkson. And to me, looks like this plan would work for them. And North Melbourne, Essendon, I think Essendon should have kept on going right from the start, but that gives them a little bit of problems with them that they were not able to capitalise in the start as well. And North Melbourne, to their credit, they were there till the end, but Essendon just flew over.
Yeah, well, the Roos have been fantastic the last couple of weeks. A great win against West Coast last week. Started on a positive note, but Essendon too strong in the end. Jake Stringer, a great last quarter, saving the match for the Dons, kicking 3 goals. So Bombers in the 8, hopefully they can stay there.
Thank you, guys, and we'll be back with more reviews from the weekend and round 19 previews coming up after this break. Last Sunday at the MCG with no spectators, Carlton was overwhelmed with Collingwood's tall men early, but came back from behind in a 7-goal last quarter to beat the Magpies by 29 points. In Perth, West Coast put an end to their recent losing streak, defeating the Adelaide Crows by 42 points, and in a match marred by COVID-19 restrictions on some key players and officials from both sides. Sydney came from a long way back to beat the GWS Giants by 26 points at Metricon Stadium. George, what is your opinion on the results?
Well, a great performance by Carlton in the last quarter. I'm pleased they actually won the match after a sad week where, of course, Carlton lost Sergio Silvani, the patriarch of the Silvani family, has spawned a footballing dynasty there. Harry Mackay back to his best, kicking 4 goals in that last quarter. Collingwood were great for 3 quarters, dominated all across the ground, but yeah, it was that last quarter where Carlton finally took a stronghold. Harbir.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe the manner they won that game, Carlton's been guilty of that they haven't been able to play all the quarters. Like they generally had a good start, but towards the end, they used to wander off. But this time, the main thing was they got to the 4th quarter with some mindset, and they were able to achieve that. And what a player Sam Walsh has been for them. And huge credit to Silvani, the way he played and all the emotional aspect to it. That was just awesome. And with Adelaide West Coast, look, finally West Coast back in the winning ways. That's a very huge point, especially at Adelaide. They had a chance where they could have wandered off again, but they, to their credit, they stay on course and they didn't let this one slip through. And Adelaide, we've seen that they've been putting up good and bad performances, and this was probably one of their bad performances. But on the run, win for West Coast, huge win.
Yeah, good to see some of their key players like Gaff and Natanui back to their best. A setback for the Eagles before the match with Josh Kennedy ruled out, but Jamie Cripps filled the void with a sensational performance, getting BOG. Kicking some vital goals. But for me, the match of the round almost was Sydney defeating GWS. A match with a little bit of controversy, with players from both teams having to withdraw as they attended a rugby union match on Tuesday, which was declared a Tier 2 COVID exposure sites. Toby Green, a huge loss for them. Equally, Callum Mills had to miss. But the Swans, after a very, very shaky start, they were down by 6 goals at one point, piled on the goals. Lance Franklin in amongst the goals, as was Tom Papley.
Yeah, now definitely, that's why I think Sydney is becoming sort of like a favourite for a lot of people at this stage, because the way they're coming up against the other teams. Their scalp was Western Bulldogs last time, and they defeated Bulldogs in their own game. And this time as well, like the win that they got coming from behind, and that too, like with that much of a margin, and then to end up with that many points as well, that tells a lot about their character. Definitely, Toby Green is the big miss. I think he's the one player who can change the whole game. So coming from behind, that was a great win by Sydney. GWS Giants should have won that one. They should have kept on going the way they started off, but they couldn't finish.
Thank you, guys. With all the AFL COVID force changes, each week is a different proposition as to where, when, and what matches are played. Round 19 contains unprecedented fixture changes as it opens on Friday evening with the Battle of the Magpie Armies as Port Adelaide challenge the Collingwood Magpies. On Saturday, Carlton and North Melbourne clash from Marvel Stadium, and the big one from Queensland when Brisbane played the Gold Coast from more than a bragging rights. Harbir, all 3 games look like a tough contest. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, and especially the Port Adelaide Collingwood. I think that game, as we mentioned last time as well, that game is more played on the emotional side, and both the teams will be going in there to make a mark and to defeat the other team, and they will give it whatever they have. And Port Adelaide, like they've got their own concerns. Collingwood got their own concerns. They have their injury concerns as well, and then Collingwood, they haven't been able to gel together under the Robert Harvey or anything like that. So huge problems, but we can expect a fearsome contest. But I believe with the current form or so, Port Adelaide will come on top.
Yeah, Port Adelaide snuck into 4th spot with that win against the Saints. They'll be looking to stay there. On paper, they should have a comfortable win. Hopefully they start getting some plays back in the lead up to the finals. Carlton, in their clash against North Melbourne, the Blues are a very, very sneaky chance. They're going to need a lot of luck, teams above them, to actually drop games. They were bored by that last quarter performance against Collingwood. Hopefully they can continue that impressive form, but play 4 quarters this time.
Yeah, definitely. And North Melbourne is such a team, although wherever they are on ladder, doesn't really matter. They're putting up a good show against every team now. Like with the start half, they were not that good, but now they are building into something. They're gelling well together. They're following on what their coach is saying. So it's going to be a close contest for me. But I think Carlton will come on top in that game. And the other one, Brisbane versus Gold Coast. Brisbane need to win that. They are in a desperate need at the moment to make some mark. And Gold Coast, like they are flying high at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a win, and that's why I'm going with the Gold Coast on this game.
Yeah, you're right, Harbir. Gold Coast have been fantastic in recent weeks. Really served it up to the Doggies. Brisbane, they have their injury concerns. There's a dip in form. Whether they can recover from that in time for the finals remains to be seen. But I would expect the Lions to show a little bit more passion and intensity than what they did last week.
Definitely.
Thank you for those comments, guys. We'll be back with more previews on the other side of the break. Welcome back to the show. Continuing with our previews, West Coast home at Optus Stadium take on St Kilda. Adelaide play Hawthorn from Adelaide Oval, and Melbourne clash with the Western Bulldogs from the MCG in what promises to be a tough and hard contest. On Sunday, Sydney take on Fremantle from Metricon Stadium on the Gold Coast. Geelong play host to Richmond from the MCG, and Essendon take on the GWS Giants in the second match in a double header from the Metricon. Harbir, what do you think of these matches?
Well, the first game, West Coast versus St Kilda, it has a potential to be a very good game, but St Kilda need to be there. They need to show their presence, and really what was expected of them from the previous season. So they need to show up. However, it was good to see Ryan coming back and kicking goals, and as you mentioned, Cripps, like he's doing his job well. Nick Natnoe, but the other players are like they're not there to be seen at the moment with the West Coast. They need to step up. On the paper, their team has probably the best back in the mid and the forward line as well, but it's not coming to the ground yet. So they need to show up in this one, and I think it will. They will, with the Optus advantage. I think it will be West Coast who will be coming out on the top for that. So I will tip West Coast on this. Yeah,
if Saints lose this one, Harbir, it's curtains. They've been terribly inconsistent. And the loss last week to Port Adelaide was disappointing. It's pretty much ended their campaign. But West Coast Eagles, if they can continue their form, they're playing for their life as far as a spot in the 8. The next clash, Adelaide Hawthorn, not much other than pride at stake. The Hawks, unlucky in their draw against the Demons, I thought. Had it not been for some costly misses by Jacob Koschitzki, they could have won the match. Adelaide, well, they're playing for pride too. It's at their home ground. Their form has been reasonable in recent weeks, Harbir, over there.
Yeah, but I don't think Hawks are flying at the moment, the way they played against Melbourne. If they can get it with the same vigour, hopefully it wasn't just because Melbourne was a top team or so. If they play with the same vigour, I can see a huge difference between the score at the end. And the next game that we got, I think with the fixtures we have mixed up here, Melbourne versus Bulldogs promises to be a huge game, and I hope the way the last game was played, there were so many errors from Bulldogs, like the skill errors and stuff. Hopefully we don't see that in this game, and we have a very good contest. It's a mouth-watering contest. Petrarca against Bontempelli and other players. Like, it's just going to be typical 1 versus 2, and see who comes on the top. And with Bulldogs, I think they probably got a slight edge with them, just with the form they're currently in. And with the last upset day, I think Melbourne will be coming in strong, but see how much strong they come up on that day.
Yeah, well, the Bulldogs won't have Dunkley for that clash. He got caught up in a COVID exposure side as well, going out for a cup of coffee. Yeah. Hopefully they get Liberatore back, the Doggies, to actually make up for that important loss. A massive clash. It has enormous consequences for the 4 in the top spot. So Demons, as we said earlier, just can't get the job done against teams in the bottom 4. They'll be ruining that draw against the Hawks. So I'm going to tip the Doggies, only by a goal.
Yeah, no, definitely. There won't be much in it. And Sydney versus Fremantle. Look, Fremantle, again, other teams that need to show up on the day. They have the potential, what they've shown, but Sydney, the way they are going at the moment, it's amazing. And I don't think any team can stop them at this stage, the way they're going. And if they want to win a game, I think they have the armory and the form of the players. So I think they're going to come on top in this game as well. And hopefully, Fremantle don't do what they did against the Geelong, just let the other team dominate the game.
Yeah, Dockers did well to actually stay in the 8 for a brief time, but that's history now. They won't get anywhere close to the 8. They have a tough run coming up, and the Sydney Swans, they're in great form, a great win against GWS last week. They are slowly starting to get some favouritism for the flag, the Swans, and deservedly so. It's a great team. I'm really impressed with the way they've handled life away from Sydney in the hub in Melbourne. They have taken on the challenge with gusto, and I'm looking forward to how they perform over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And another game which has the potential to be a cracker of a game, Geelong versus Richmond at MCG. Look, Richmond without Dusty, it's going to be too hard, the way the injuries are at the moment. But we've seen in the last years, like, injuries didn't matter to them. They had the depth, and everyone would rose to the occasion. They will follow the system, and they will still come out on the top. And they probably need to watch some of those videos or something like that and get some sort of motivation from somewhere, because they can still do it. And Jack Riewoldt, we see that is suddenly back into his phenomenal form. And if he can get help from Tom Lynch and others, and then a little bit of that, they can topple Geelong as well. But Geelong at the moment, although they're missing some good players, they are still flying high. And I think Geelong will probably come out on the top with the current form. Yeah,
Geelong are a formidable side. This will be one challenge too much for the Tigers. They played superbly against Brisbane. Brisbane at times were lethargic. I don't think Geelong are going to relax at any time. They'll have their foot on the pedal the whole time. They have top spot as their incentive.
And Essendon versus Giants, I think both teams, they need to come up with some sort of plan, which they don't go back to the last game or so, because they started off well, GWS Giants, but Essendon started off bad. Yeah, so it's what's going to happen is whoever plays 4 quarters can come out on the top. And at the moment, the two teams are sort of at par with each other. So anyone can come out on the top. And GWS Giants, they'll be again missing Toby Green. So it's a huge loss for them. But on the other hand side, Jake Stringer, Tipperary, they all sort of growing by every game. And Jack Stringer is having a huge year this year as well. So he'll be ready to make the mark on that game as well. And I think Essendon and GWS Giants, Essendon is for me at the moment.
Yeah, GWS Giants missing golden opportunities with Richmond stumbling to get a spot in the 8. The opportunity has been there for them, just can't get it done. Matt de Boer will also miss for the Giants because of the same COVID exposure to the rugby. He was there as well. So he's going to miss. They're just not able to cover those particular players. Disappointing for them. This was an opportunity. It's gone begging. Essendon seems to be grasping their opportunity, which is great for them. The young kids maturing week by week. Jake Stringer, he has a contract to sign. Wants to play really, really well to secure a long-term contract, and good on him. But the other young players around him, they're maturing, and they're a terrific young side on the up. I would expect Essendon to have a comfortable win and consolidate their place in the 8. And we didn't see that coming a few weeks ago, but to their credit, they're winning the games that they need to.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Now onto my tip selections, and this week I'm going for Port Adelaide, Carlton, Brisbane, West Coast, Adelaide, Western Bulldogs, Sydney, Geelong, and GWS Giants. With COVID lockdowns and AFL fixture alterations, it is advisable to check with your local media for times and venues to confirm when and where your team is playing. That is all we have time for this week. You can also watch us in Adelaide on Channel 44 Friday evenings, on Aurora Foxtel TV at midday Saturday, and on the NEMBC YouTube. You are listening to this podcast on the Community Radio Network, and the AFL Diversity Language News can be heard on national multicultural radio stations. I am Vanessa Gatica.
I'm Harbir Singh.
And I'm George Gracios.
Thank you, and see you next week.